Mike T's day. He has released his annual GM mock draft, which is to say not who he projects the teams are going to take, but who he would take if he were sitting in the office. To no one's surprise, he has Cam Ward going number 1. You see he has Travis Hunter 2 to Cleveland, Shador 3 to the Giants, Armand Membu, the fast rising offensive lineman, at 4 to the Patriots, Abdul Carter, the pass rusher, at 5 to Jacksonville. Let's focus in on number 1. We are 30 days from the draft, and that number 1 pick is probably officially locked up. Cam Ward, impressive at his pro day yesterday in Miami. Heisman Trophy finalist, worked out in front of more than 90 NFL team staffers, including a full contingent from the Titans, who are on the clock with the very first pick. And so let's go directly to our Jeff Darlington. You've been talking to people who were there. Tim Hasselbeck is up this morning, and the aforementioned Mike Tannenbaum as well. What did people say about what they saw?
Yeah, Greeny, I was talking to Brian Callahan, actually, head coach of the Tennessee Titans, who was obviously on hand, standing on the sideline with the rest of the Titans brass. And at one point, Cam Ward throws this ridiculous completion, and he turns to the Vikings brass and he said, "I'm going to solidify it today." I don't recall a camaraderie existing between a team and a prospect like the Titans and Cam Ward in quite some time. As far as to say, yes, it does feel like he is the number 1 overall pick. That's not me saying anything that the Titans have told me. That's not any reporting. It just, everything about this relationship feels like it's headed that direction, not merely because of what he demonstrated on the field, not merely just that anecdote that obviously illustrates Cam Ward's desire to be picked by the Titans, but they love this guy. They think that he is the right personality and the right leader.
Mike T, is there any question about it? If you're sitting in that chair, are you even taking phone calls?
Nope. He's the first pick in the draft, and everything they've done, Greeny, so far, signing Dan Moore, signing Kevin Zeitler, not addressing the quarterback position, tells us that he will be the first pick. And to take you behind the scenes, I think what helped him as much as anything was what his teammates said about him at the Combine. They raved about his character, his leadership. And we're watching the pro day yesterday. He can make all the throws. You could see that on tape. But I think what sets him apart is his deep ball accuracy on the field. When the ball traveled 20 yards or more, Greeny had 12 touchdowns and no interceptions. But his intangibles and his leadership is exactly what Tennessee needs.
It's an unbelievable story. This is a kid coming out of Texas who had 1 scholarship offer to Incarnate Word. He spent 2 years there, tore it up, went to Washington State, tore it up there, went 1 year to Miami. You saw the season he had last year. If you add up his numbers between FBS and FCS, he's threw the most touchdowns of anyone in the history of college football. So he's going to be the number 1 pick. Tim Hasselbeck, I want to ask you an entirely separate question. Can we show the play that had everyone, and this is what I meant when I said there's something that hovers over these pro days that just needs to be said. Cindy, can we show the play that kind of set the internet on fire yesterday, went viral, everybody went completely crazy about this play, right? So here's Cam Ward. I'm just going to do a little play-by-play of it. Here he is. He's now just kind of moving backwards in the pocket and just flinging this one about 80 yards up this orange line they have there, up the left side of the field. Tim, let me ask you, what is this play called? Like, if you're in the huddle and you want to call this play, what exactly is it the quarterback is saying? How often is this play run in a professional football game?
Yeah, pretty much never, Greedy. And that's one of the things about these pro days. Guys do this. Look, if you're an elite thrower, which Cam Ward is, you do things like this at your pro day, right? We've seen other quarterbacks do things like this at their pro day. To me, like you've been talking a lot of basketball this morning, like this would be the equivalent of a basketball player on their pro day taking a bunch of half-court shots. Like, okay, great. Like, maybe it happens once every 5 games that you take a half-court shot in basketball. I don't know. But, like, in football, it's just unrealistic. And so some of these things that happen in these quarterback pro days, especially the way that they're so scripted, guys aren't, testing, running 40s, doing things like that. They're just, if you're an elite thrower, you show off your arm. If you're not, you have to be a little more dialed in and scripted. And I hate to say it, it's almost just becoming a complete waste of time.
That's the point I want to make here, and I want to make it as clear as I can. This is not aimed at Cam Ward. This is the job that he had to do yesterday, and he did it. And if I had that arm, I would want to show it off too. But I have a lot of scar tissue from this, okay? Because, I mean, the most famous of these plays ever, and it happened during a pandemic, so there weren't as many in-person meetings and all that stuff, was Zach Wilson did this one time. And the next thing you knew, he was the 2nd pick in the draft, and we all saw how that turned out. So, Mike T, I guess, who was it that said in the meeting this morning the difference between the way scouts and coaches view those plays? Was it you, Tim? Was it you who said that? Tim, what did you say about when this play is made?
What I mean by this is, like, look, I've talked to guys. I've talked to quarterbacks who have said, look, when guys do this on their pro days, you can see, scouts clapping and coaches rolling their eyes. Because the coaches know, like, you don't do this. It's not real. You're not coaching it. It's not in the game plan. It's not something you do. But the scouts do it and go, yep, see, look at that arm. Look how, hey, he just threw that go route, 57 yards. Well, like, no one does that. It doesn't happen in a game. Like, you take 5 and a hitch and you throw the football and you land it 45 and 5, 45 yards down the field, 5 yards from the sideline. So a guy being late on a go route and throwing it 57 yards, like, means nothing to a coach. But, like, to the scout, it's like, yep, see the raw talent.
Mike T.
Yeah, like, to me, there's a lot of these guys, right? Jamarcus Russell, Anthony Richardson. It's a very small part of an overall picture. And again, when you're in the room and you have to make these franchise-defining decisions, Greeny, you want to know about the intangibles. Can they lead? Can they have mental toughness? And that's, to me, like, going down there, if I'm Tennessee, having dinner with him, talking to the sports staff, that's as important as any of the eye candy that we're looking at.
Yeah, I want to make it as clear as I can one more time, because you never know how people interpret. This has nothing to do with Cam Ward. He should be the first pick in the draft. Everything in the world says it. The fact that he could make that play has nothing to do with why he should be the first pick in the draft. Chad.
Yeah, I think that's important. I remember watching I was at Sam Darnold's pro day, and the rain was coming down, and, I mean, he looked like, Zeus. He was throwing these ridiculously amazing passes. Not to say anything bad about Sam Darnold, but a pro day is far more validating to a team when they have the chance to be around the player. And that anecdote I shared about Cam Ward solidifying himself, he did it with his arm, but he also did it with his demeanor and his interactions with his wide receivers. I think that goes as far for these teams as anything that he might do with his arm.
More football as we go. Let me get back. Women's tournament action last night. We showed you the terrible injury to Juju Watkins. Another of the huge stars in the game, of course, is Paige Beckers. UConn, South Dakota State. It was Paige Beckers' final home game at Gampel Pavilion, and she went crazy. Steps back and nails the three early. She scored UConn's last 10 points of the first quarter as they started to pull away. We're midway through the second quarter now, knocking down a three. UConn up by a dozen. Late in the half, it's a 14-point game. Paige Beckers, 21 points on 8 of 12 in the first half, and UConn is just opening it up. 4 minutes to go in the third. The lead is 26. More from Paige Beckers here as she would come off the floor in the fourth quarter in her final ever home game. She would do so having tied her career high 34 points. A great moment, a great night, a great performance, and a great career for Paige Beckers. She hopes she has 4 more wins left in her. UConn wins it. They advance to the Sweet 16 for the 31st consecutive year. Coming up, guess who's back? Back again. It's AD for Big D. Does Dallas have anything left in the tank as they bring him back in Brooklyn? Plus, Maryland had the shot of the tournament so far, so that got us to thinking, what are the best buzzer beaters that we've seen in March Madness? Spoiler alert, this one, as great as it was, is not going to make the list. They're on the way. Get up on ESPN.
Xin chào tất cả mọi người đã quay trở lại với kênh của mình. Ngày hôm nay mình sẽ tiếp tục hướng dẫn các bạn làm vòng. Vòng hôm nay của mình sẽ có tiêu đề là cây lúa. Mọi người, hôm nay vòng của mình sẽ có tiêu đề là cây mạ. Bây giờ mình bắt đầu làm nhé.